Hi guys, it's Candace. I'm here with a June wrap-up, and since this month was so long, I feel like I've been talking about these books so often. So I guess every week I have. And so I just thought I would just do a brief collage of all of the books that I read, because I think you've heard of what I thought in previous videos if you've been watching my channel. If not, I'll provide some links. And there was 2 books that I wanted to talk to at the end that I hadn't made videos for or talked about. So if you're interested, at the end of my books that I read, which was I think 12 books, I'll do a short review on The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer and Vincent and Theo by Deborah Heiligman. Some interesting stats about this month's reading was my 2 favorite books that I've read so far this year. I read this month, and also I read 6 books. So half of the books were released this year. A couple of them were ARCs, and released in the US, because some of them were previously released in the UK. I've had more 5-star reads this year than ever before, and I truly believe it's because of BookTube and the recommendations I get from everybody and watching your videos, and some was a little bit of luck too. So I really appreciate everybody's comments and watching my videos. The book I just finished was an audiobook. I listened to Vincent and Theo, or Vincent and Theo, by Deborah Heiligman and narrated by Phil Fox. And this is a nonfiction book. It's based off of letters, primarily from Vincent to Theo. Vincent didn't keep a lot of Theo's letters, unfortunately. He moved around a lot, and he didn't really have a lot of possessions. But I learned so much. I mean, I love art, and I love Vincent van Gogh. I didn't know as much as I learned in this book. And I really did not know how instrumental his brother, Theo, was to his career. I mean, he was basically like his financial backer through his entire career. And they had this sort of symbiotic relationship where they couldn't almost exist without each other. They were super close, and I just really enjoyed the book. There was 2 sort of controversies the author talked about that I read about. One was about actually when Vincent cuts his ear off. He was living with Paul Gauguin in the Yellow House, and there is rumors that it could have been Paul Gauguin who actually cut off his ear. I'm going to have to do more research into that. Obviously, it can't be verified, and that's not how history remembers it. And then actually the ending, there is, history is known, but I don't want to spoil it for how he dies, Vincent dies. There's some drama around that. But overall, it was so interesting to get to know the VanGogh brothers. They were almost like a separate identity from the rest of their family, and they were so close. And even though Theo ends up getting married, Vincent isn't with anyone. So the closest person he is on this earth to someone is Theo, and they go through a lot of problems, a lot of trying to make money, and Theo always supported Vincent emotionally and physically, especially when he couldn't find his way, and then when he was becoming an artist, and he always believed in him, and he sent him money for rent and for paints, and even for when he was living with a woman and with a child, like for their rent and things. And then Theo was an art dealer, and he is really instrumental in getting Vincent paintings out there, but also the impressionistic paintings, a great eye for art. And it was just really interesting. I was completely shocked. This is actually considered a book for teens. It doesn't read that way. And they talk about things like prostitutes and that kind of thing, syphilis. So I'm surprised. To me, it didn't seem like a teen book at all. Like, at all. It's a nonfiction book. The audiobook was 9.5 hours. And honestly, I could have listened for longer. So that's the first book. The second book, which I never got around to talking about, and I have to get off my mind. I know, so The Art of Asking is sort of like one of those booktube books, and I was intrigued by it. A lot of people that I liked gave it 5 stars, and I will say I did learn a lot about Amanda Palmer. I was intrigued because she is from the Boston area. She's super creative. Like, she's not only in this music group, but like, she just like exudes this, like, I have to live my life being a creative person, and I'm not going to settle for anything less, even if that means I'm not going to make any money. It's really impressive. I'm totally into like people helping each other, and, you know, having this great network of social media and where you help each other out. I will say one thing I'm not into is her eyebrows. Like, she said something in there like she thought it made her more approachable or something, or friendly looking, because her eyebrows are like, I'll try and put a picture, like jagged-y. I don't understand that. I am definitely not like a professional by any means, but like when you have really like strict, thin, sharp eyebrows, it actually makes you look more severe and actually, I think, less friendly and open myself. But I learned about statuing, or busking as they call it, and it's kind of like a human experiment into the human psychology, like how people do walking the street, and do they give money, you know, just like do you give money to a homeless person. I really liked that, but the part that I struggled with, and maybe this is me just being not as open person as her, is she's basically doing a trust fall with the universe over and over and over again, like continually, and the universe mostly does provide for her, but there are times where it doesn't, and she kind of gets super hurt and like mad at the universe when it happens. And I just think when you are such a controversial and extrovert, constantly like spreading your opinions and everything out there are going to be people that don't agree with you and or don't like it. And, you know, I personally, like, I agree. It's good to ask if you need help. But I'm like more of a private person, and I also feel like maybe more a little bit independent. Like, to me, spending the night on like a million people's couches that I don't know is not an idea of fun for me. Like, I'd rather spend the money, and if I don't have the money, then I find a way to make money to do it. But the second part that really hit home with me was her poem about the Boston bombing, because I was here. Like, I was in Boston, actually was living in Beacon Hill at the time. My family had gone to the Red Sox game, and they were just walking back from the game when the bomb went off at the finish line. So I was there that week, and when they shut down the city for a week to try and find the one remaining bomber that was alive. Like, it was a time of fear and kind of like community, but scary. Like, and as you guys know, like, these terrorist attacks have been happening. When someone puts a bomb, innocent lives in danger, it makes you feel so vulnerable. And I know she was using her poem as a way of dealing with the traumatic happening. It is a combination of what Amanda Palmer was thinking and doing on the day the bomb went off and the actual bomber. However, I'm not saying like I would post horrible things on her website, but I can also understand how people got a little upset because it's the day of and she's posting this, and people died, and it's not, I'm all for freedom of speech, but I just think maybe if she could try and think, okay, this is how I feel, but how does someone feel that had the kid, like their child on the finish line, that he's no longer alive? Like, how does the parents feel of their son that lost his legs because he was by the finish line? The one line in particular that really hits home for me, and she says, "You don't know why you let that guy go without shooting him dead and stuffing him in some bushes between Cambridge and Watertown." That hurts me a little. I just don't understand. And so what she writes in her blog post about how she got to this poem was that everyone misinterpreted this poem she wrote in 9 minutes and basically titled a poem for Zakar. And so, like, maybe just try and slow down and think a little bit. She blames it on, like, we're living our life in fear and hatred. And where is this bringing us as humans? And yes, we all have to be empathetic to everybody. But I don't know. It's a very tricky line to walk. And like I said, I'm 100% believer in freedom of speech. I can just see how this would rub people the wrong way. And then she got hurt feelings about it after, because there was people that were like, we want to blow up your legs and stuff, which is totally not cool. I'm not cool with that. But like, if you're going to put something like this out there, then expect that they're going to also have a reaction, and maybe not a reaction that you like. Anyways, I don't want to get into it more. I feel bad. I just had to say my piece about that.